Hi there, my friends. Welcome, welcome. I want to explore with you today satiation, satisfaction, the capacity to come into a space of feeling this is enough. I am enough. I am exactly right as I am. And I wake up often in the morning and I feel like deeply met, like deeply satisfied. And sometimes I have this recognition, wow, I'm just actually happy. And this happens quite a bit, but this hasn't always been the case. Absolutely not, and I, like many people, became a seeker at a very early age. And I went through a very strong period, a short period, but strong, of destruction, self destruction through addiction. So that started really early. It was it was in my environment. It almost was like was normalized to get deeply involved with alcohol and drugs. More alcohol, but it stopped for me at an early age upon meeting my first spiritual teacher and therapist. And I remember what she told me is that we're going to peel back the layers of all the things that you've learned about yourself that aren't true. So that was the beginning of a very long journey for me. And it doesn't even mean that everything that we peeled back stayed off, that I didn't pick it up again, or that I didn't misidentify with something about myself that wasn't true. So, that just that feeling, the feeling of the addict is often one of not being able to get enough. And that gets, there's a hooking in that happens from a really deep wounding. And we're trying to mask it, cover it up, put a band aid on it. And it's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough because it's not really addressing the deeper wounding in it. So oftentimes when I have retreats with people who I can always recognize, a familiar addict type of um, tendency, and I love it when this shows up because even in the presentation of what is being given on retreat or in the form of a service, even meditation, there's always that kind of give me more, give me more, give me more. It's not enough. And, but I know that that isn't about, our surroundings because our surroundings, what we accumulate and what we gather and what we, get addicted to as possessions, uh, um, as titles, as labels, all of those things. They're never enough. They're kind of that's part of the layering, and it's a temporary type of fix that can give us this moment of I can rest. And those are important moments to rest and to feel that sense of satiation. But what I want to get at with you is how do we uncover, peel back, continue to truly peel back and uncover what doesn't belong to us, what got picked up along the way, and what doesn't really resource us, what doesn't really give us a sense of goodness, put us in touch with that aliveness and that original essence of intrinsic worth, intrinsic value, where we don't get that from the outside and we don't need to add it on to us. So, how does that come about? So, I love meditating. I meditate a lot less because I feel my life is a meditation in motion. And when something appears in my life and I'm, feel a resistance to it or I'm triggered by it, then I know it's time for me to take a seat in myself and to explore. What is this touching? Why am I feeling a need to move from it? And then meditation, just sitting with yourself, can be extremely beneficial. So let's just right now, part of the peeling back and being able to uncover the truth of yourself is just taking a moment to be able to sit, without any expectation. So, what we're actually doing when we sit is we're freeing ourselves of the voice. We've heard of the small little voice. Well, sometimes that voice is actually quite loud, yeah? And it can be disturbing and quite upsetting. And I don't want to make light of it because I know that within many of us, that critic can be very active. It's almost like it's created a home in our body mind system. And it's learned to occupy our time and our attention. And so, how do we let that voice know that, it's okay? Thank you for how you have served me, and you're no longer needed. How do we get to kiss it goodbye? How do we get to be so thankful? Because in a way, that voice, it does serve a purpose. It thinks it's helping us. It thinks it's protecting us. It came on board for a reason. So we don't need to disown it. We don't need to make it the bad guy, the bad woman, anything like that. We can get familiar with how it shows up, as the assumer, the one that makes assumptions about something on the outside or something about us, and then draws an interpretation and a conclusion about that may, well, always it causes us to behave in a certain way, but often it's one that deprives us of life. It deprives us of showing up for life just as it is, and learning and maturing and growing in a way that we become emotionally intelligent, because the wounded places didn't get to have that. Yeah. They didn't get to perhaps have a mother or a father or a sibling, a grandparent, somebody in the environment that could be there and kind of teach emotional intelligence just by listening and believing and feeling. Often this happens for us later in life. For some of us, we're very fortunate, and we have this in our early life. Many of our own parents didn't get to be schooled in this way, and it isn't something that's taught in our schools. And it doesn't make any treatment that a person receives okay. It never does. So we're not going to bypass anything, but we can allow for how that lives in us to be felt, to be seen and be met. So, the voice is usually kind of just, the watch guard for something it's like, no, not gonna let you get closer. I'm gonna keep you busy in the head, and here, so we don't get to go into the felt experience of what's living in the body. Yeah, and that's where it gets really interesting. So I want to invite that to happen, and from a distance, because the mind, also that voice, is the great distorter. So from a distance, it will create this illusion of fear, of no, can't go there, and make something appear much grander than it is, like a kind of a grandiose type of thing. And then the way we protect ourselves gets even stronger. The persona that we build for who we think we ought to be gets even more developed in its capacity to mask who we are. And then that's separation. That's, a wall. That's something that distances us from what we started talking about in the very beginning. Happiness, feeling satisfied, being able to rest in our enoughness, in our okayness, and our beauty, and to let our lived experience embody, who we are, like take up space, occupy, your bones, your blood, every part of you. You're already here. All of you is here. Everything you need is inside of you. There may be a bit of fracturing that is, kind of covering things up a bit, or giving some confusing mixed messages in the mind. But all of this can be sorted. Yeah. There's not really anything to fix about you. Like in your soul level, you are perfect, unwounded. The spirit of you, your original essence, is just fine. And yeah, just feel that in yourself. When we just let ourselves, ah, you have a moment. I'm sure you have had many, many moments of being touched by something in life, a person, a sunset, the full moon, a beautiful scenery, or a touching from another being coming up close and with kindness, maybe an animal, all these different ways in which we get touched, where we can savor that. This is actually what I was feeling today. I was feeling this deep sense of love and wholeness that I know I didn't have to earn, that it didn't come from accumulation or from recognition on the outside. It wasn't like, oh, I finally reached my 5,000 likes or comments or whatever, and now I'm publicly approved. Wow. No, nothing like that, which can be very exhausting, and it also serves its purpose. But at the end of the day, when all the lights go out, truly, truly, and you've been tucked away for this life, it's done. What is the feeling that we want? What is that feeling that we already know that we can let ourselves have? It's like this sense of, yes, I'm enough. I don't have to earn who I am. I have a right to be here exactly as I am. Nobody can take away what is yours truly in spirit and soul. Life can contribute and offer meaning, yes. And we can do the same. We can contribute to life. We can offer great meaning in how we show up for ourselves and how we show up for people in the earth that needs are showing up, values are showing up. That's what we call reciprocity. And this is what, in my experience, I can only speak for myself, is deeply satisfying. Like when you know that you've given freely, you've heard a call and you've responded to it. Just naturally, just a natural rising up, almost like a lover, parent child relationship where there's a really healthy bond. or a garden that you've tended to, and you know when it needs to be watered, when it might need some new compost, some fresh compost, when some weeding may need to take place. Perhaps when a particular plant needs more sun or one needs more shade. You know that through your paying attention, through your listening, and then you hear. I remember my daughter when she was really young. She doesn't have language in the way you and I do, but she communicates, and she could be miles away, and I could feel her calling me, and my body would also respond. She actually was already 6 or 7, and she wasn't nursing any longer, but I could feel her. I could feel her calling. I could feel moisture in my breasts and my nipples, like my body was feeling her. And there was a tug in my belly. And we have a very special, special bond, that needed to be developed because she doesn't have the skill of language like you and I. And in many ways, you can say plants are the same, and indigenous people know how to listen and be in communication, be in right relationship and reciprocity with all the elements. As Curandera, we learn this in our training, in our studies, in learning the ways of the people who have gone before us who have not lost contact with the land, with that sense of, when you embody yourself and you occupy yourself, you also occupy the land in which you live upon, and it is indifferent. We all need this, yeah? So, how does it begin? I'm going to kind of sum up now. I might get carried away because I just want to have fun with you. I just want you to enjoy, enjoy, enjoy because life is too short. So, when it does come to the end of the day and we're tucked away, it's like, what? It doesn't matter like what our professional resume says. What matters is that we touch and we've been touched. Yeah. No, that we remember. I remembered in this way because we remembered who we are and what we're here for. Remember why you came here. Remember that your life is sacred. Yeah. So we start in the mind. I mean, the mind is important for a lot of things, making decisions and rational, but rational kinds of thinking. So we're not dismissing mind at all. Never. Very, very helpful tool. But we can, just through slowing down, we can begin to recognize that the critic, the voice of the critic, the voice of the one that projects, yeah, that projects onto a situation this filter so we don't get to actually see it exactly as it is. So we then may withhold from it or we may jump into it, in a way that isn't like matching. And that's okay too. We just learn because, yeah, let's jump in and learn. And then there's the interpreter, which we may have spoken about for a minute. And the interpreter is also looking through a particular lens and a filter of conditioning and maybe saying this or that and draw conclusions and again prevent us from living. And then there's that voice that's very deceptive. It's a really tricky one. It doesn't really it's almost it's the deceptive voice is also it's a trickster. It's always moving. And it's always changing its mind. You can't really quite pinpoint it. Yes, you can just notice that. And maybe it comes from an earlier experience of being deceived. We've all been deceived by religion, by education, by culture, by society. So just, yeah, let that one be here and just befriend it and thank it. And then the voices they'll slow down, they slow down, they slow down. And they teach us, when they slow down, then we start to learn that we don't have to wait to improve upon ourselves, to acquire this or that, right? Before we can be. Yeah, just be, just enter, just soften, let everything in you, however, whatever is showing up. At any moment, we can just like pause with it and thank it. Oh, yeah, like the cherishing mother, just kind of hold it. Let it know it has served its purpose and that you're no longer willing to be held captive to it, that you've served your time. It's enough. Yeah, so you open, you're the one that has the key to any way in which you've been locked in, imprisoned. You open, you have the key. And in actuality, the door is really already open. So you just step in to yourself. Nobody can prevent you from enjoying the wealth of beauty that is contained inside. Ah, so that was the feeling, and I may not have expressed it fully because it's like there aren't even words, but it's like this sense of satiation. It yearns for itself. Its hunger is for itself. It's what gets us out of bed in the morning. And like if we can be ever so curious about that, everything else sorts itself out. Like, what is that I'm wanting? Hmm. What is it that's calling? And just in that deep, deep feeling, you're already dropped. You've already descended into heart, soul, body, here. Mm. Receiving, 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 listening, and just savor, savor what's here, savor what's here. It's enough. You are enough. You have everything here. And there isn't any bypass whatsoever in this. You see, just take the time to be nourished and resourced from this deep well within, and you will be in a much better space to attend to whatever else is calling in, say, more practical ways, sometimes very challenging ways. And our clarity comes, and there'll be some things that we get super clear about, that this I can say no to, like forever. This I might just say no to for now. I'll get back to you. Let me think about it. Let me sit with it. And over here, it's like, yes, I move to beauty. Yes, I welcome you. Yes, I receive support. Yes, I welcome you into my life. There's a resonance. So I hope this is super useful to you. And if you enjoy this channel, please subscribe. If you want to be on my newsletter, it's prajnaohara.com. Like, comment, share, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I'm trying to come on once a week, except when I'm traveling, of course, I won't be able to do that. Yeah.